Greetings, everyone. Core here, and kind of been a little bit lagging on this video, just because it's just been a little bit more busier than I expected, and didn't quite get around to making this video, which is pretty much my top five. Granted, there are some honorable mentions that I do want to talk about just quickly, especially at least one movie because I did not do an official movie review video on it. So let's get right into it. And I got my XSplit working, and bam, going a little fancy here. Like I said, I'm trying to do some videos. I think I kind of found my legs of doing my videos, which is just doing them raw, you know, no editing on nothing, which I utilize XSplit as much as I can because it lets me do something like this without editing it later on. So first off, honorable mentions, which, like I said, I do have a top five, which I do rank them. But honorable mentions just are just random videos I've seen, which pretty much I went off all the videos that I reviewed, and then also some other videos that other videos, some other movies I saw, that which one of them I saw, which I did not do a movie review on, but I felt I should throw it in here. But first, honorable mention is Deadpool 2. Uh, like I said, it is a top five list, which of course, if it was top 10, Deadpool 2 would probably be, number 6 or 7 even. But kind of got a Sophie's Choice a few of these, and I think, uh, I don't think my top, I think my top 1 and 2 might be a little interchangeable, but nonetheless, Deadpool 2 was pretty good. I don't like it. Okay, I mean, love the first one. It's just the first one felt more story driven, where the second one just felt more comic book y. They definitely, turned everything up past 11 and just made everything even more ridiculous than the first one, and just more callbacks and cameos and just humor and everything, just more Deadpool y, pretty much. And it worked. I mean, everything was great about it. I don't think there was really anything I didn't like about it. I mean, it would have been cool, yeah, of course, if Cable was this giant, hulking guy like he is in the comics. But then again, we don't have word bubbles. Well, okay, we do have some word bubbles, but not constant word bubbles, for Deadpool. So gotta take what you can. But yeah, so Deadpool 2 was really fun, really great. It just, like I said, the first one is just slightly, a little bit above Deadpool 2. So it's an honorable mentions because there was a lot of good movies this year, and like I said, gotta make some choices. So Deadpool 2 got the chop off the main list, but it's honorable mention for sure. Next, of course, we do have Aquaman, which I gotta say impressed me quite a bit as far as what it accomplished and what it does. Just it was just fun. That's pretty much plain, uh, pure and simple, just fun. And what more could you ask for from a movie starring a guy who could talk to fish besides fun? So, yeah, like I said, what else can you expect? But it's just, have you seen any Fast and Furious movies, especially the latest ones? You know what to expect from this. It's just crazy action, very cool visuals, poses like no other movie, and it's highly entertaining and enjoyable beyond what you can expect. But it's honorable mention just because I did not expect I did not expect Aquaman to be this entertaining. So it gets the number, honorable mention spot. And next we got a movie which I did not do a movie review for, just because I saw it later on. But after seeing it, man, it's it's okay. It's the whole Odd Couple kind of movie where have this. It's the high class guy learning about the low class ways from a low class guy that's starts learning about the high class ways, and then of course they better each other through the different means, and it's based on a true story of this high class musician who goes to the South during the 80s. No, earlier. Yeah, I think around the 80s. I could be wrong, but I forget. But that sounds right to me. Maybe the 70s, but yeah. So he gets this, you know, Brooklyn Bronx, Italiano guy that's like this enforcer at the Coca Cabana just to help him, just take care of himself, to go to the South and just watch his back really. And of course he gets in trouble because he's not used to certain ways of the South during that time. So it's just, I mean, we've seen stuff like this, but the execution, the whole story, just the characters themselves are just so likable, and there's some great moments, and it's excuse me, it's a really good movie. If you can see it, definitely check it out. However you can see it, it's really enjoyable. I highly recommend it. Out of pretty much my honorable mentions here, which I only got 4, it might be my top one of them. And the last honorable mention I have is unfortunately being cut off. There it is. Which is Bohemian Rhapsody. And I think the main thing about these honorable mentions is that they're all enjoyable in their own certain way. Deadpool 2 was enjoyable for its comedy. Aquaman was enjoyable for its visuals. Green Book was enjoyable for its characters. And Bohemian Rhapsody is enjoyable for the music. Honestly, I love Queen. Who doesn't love Queen? If you don't love Queen, how are you alive? Or how have you not found the music of Queen and not found your favorite song from them? This movie does fast forward a lot of stuff, of course, through the history and the stories and everything. Just because Queen is a decades long band, even though the singer, had passed away. Of course, granted, he passed away decades after they had started and become big and everything, but still, nonetheless, Queen is still a formidable force even today. And I think this movie is pretty much the closest most of us, at least, especially me, I was barely alive during Freddie Mercury, and of course, nobody's gonna pay for a toddler to go to one of his concerts, so I was never able or honored to go to one of his concerts. But I believe this movie was the closest. This movie is probably the closest that you're gonna get to actually going to one of those concerts, especially the big climax at the Live Aid concert. Just everything, everything about it is pretty awesome. I think there's only one thing that really bugged me about it, which was like a time jump from pretty much when he, acknowledges, yeah, he's gay, to the Freddie Mercury, and it's a little jarring for me personally, just because it literally just bam, he's out. He's not just out of the closet. He's down the road, 20 miles. But yeah, so it's just, that's really the only gripe I have about it. Everything else is just fun and entertaining. I do admire the actor who portrayed Johnny Mercury. Kudos. I mean, granted, of course, they did change his teeth a little bit. They made him more, Hollywood. Even though, of course, they still gave him, everything, the whole overbite and everything like that. But his teeth weren't as, like I said, Hollywoody as they are in this movie. They were a little more rougher, but man, just everything else, just visually, like I said, the music, of course, it's just the greatest hits of everything that Queen does and is. And the remaining members even said, it's like, if we don't do it, somebody else will, and we want to at least try to honor Freddy in a good way. So that's it for honorable mentions. I probably took a little too long as far as mention them. So let's go ahead and start into our main course, which, give me just a moment here. All right, so sorry about that. Just really had to sneeze bad on that. Main course time, top 5 movies for 2018. Here we go. Which, number 5, Mission Impossible Fallout. The one thing I'll say about this movie is that it will give you anxiety almost throughout the whole movie, because it literally is that movie that keeps you at the edge of your seat through the whole thing. Well, pretty much the whole thing. So it's pretty intense. It's just, I mean, we've had, what is this, number 6 now? I think it's number 6. Feels like it. 6 Mission Impossibles. I'm just gonna run with that number. and none of them have made you feel the way that this one does, which is just, man, you have that anxiety. The opening credits has, of course, the classic, lighting the match and, setting the fuse, and then you just feel that anxiety of something's coming, and it's probably not going to be good. And this just runs through almost at least the last half of this movie. Man, you get anxious, if not, like I said, the whole movie, you're just, man, I can't say it enough. You're on the freaking edge of your seat, and that's impressive for a movie to do that. It's, especially today when we've seen pretty much everything and remade everything and just taken everything for granted. It's incredible. But yeah, man, this Mission Impossible Fallout was pretty intense, and that's saying something for my top 5. If that's number 5 to start us off with. So let's see, number 4, Ready Player One. The reason Ready Player One is, of course, number 4 is a lot of it has to do with nostalgia, which it's one of those movies which is kind of built around this, retro nostalgia, which I feel like I'm not saying that correctly. I'm probably not. Feeling, just of people my age, late 20s, early 30s, kids of the 90s, even kids of the 80s especially too, just growing up and just seeing all these characters just mixing and mashing in this new world that you could literally do anything you want. It's the ultimate paradise for anyone that's, likes VR, open world, or create, especially customizations where you could just do what you want. And man, this movie is just, it's fun, it's exciting, there's some great scenes and everything. It's just it's just fun as hell, man. But yeah, I mean, Mission Impossible has the edge of your seat, but Ready Player One just has that whimsy of, when you're younger, when you were young, of all these different things, and just climax. Of course, it's not as, the actors aren't as amazing as Mission Impossible, but just the overall feel, just the enjoyment of it, just how much I enjoyed it seeing in the theater for the first time. It definitely earned its number 4 spot, and if it wasn't for some other movies, it could have been number 1 or even 2. But like I said, this year was top. Was man, there was a lot of great movies that came out this year, and we gotta keep going because Ready Player One is amazing. But number 3, something unique, which is an anime movie, which I did do a movie review for, And I actually saw the movie 3 times total in like the week it was premiered in the theaters. Two actually in one day, back to back, because you know, not a promotion or nothing, but AMC Stubs Pass, man, is such a great thing. This movie qualified for it. So, but the first time I saw it was from friends. It was my local theater. It was just, they play a lot of these anime movies that come around, especially early on, and I got, we had nice seats. Everybody there, was wearing something, My Hero Academia, Boku no Hero. Of course, it was dubbed. I couldn't, unfortunately, I didn't get the time to see it in its original subbing, but uh, the dub's actually not that bad. I thought at first I wasn't really gonna like the dubbing too much because I've been watching the original Japanese dub with subtitles, of course. So I got used to these voices. I got used to these characteristics in those voices. But honestly, the English is actually pretty good. They nail quite a few of the voices. I think All Might is good. It's really good, especially when he's All Might, but not when he's in his muscle form, but not so much in his weaker form. His weaker form could use a little more fatigue, a little more frailty to it, but his muscle form is really great. Deku, of course, is pretty close, but everybody else is pretty spot on, really. And of course, we do get new characters. I titled the video Deku Ex Machina because, of course, in every anime movie, there is this magical ex machina device, spell, power, random wigamajig, goober, and that is going to save the day at the end. And of course, Deku gets it, which is a brace for one of his arms to help absorb the impact, but still, so he could go full 100% with that impact, but not take the recoil from it, which is pretty awesome. So that actually makes the climax of this movie just totally incredible. Like I said, this movie is on here because it's a really good movie, first of all, and most importantly, the fight scenes and animation is just super smooth, even more smoother and more epic than what you've seen in the series. But also, man, going to one of these special events with fan bases, of course, seeing Avengers, seeing DC, seeing Marvel movies, there's a big fan base and everything for it. But these anime movies, the fan base is a little bit more diehard because they're a lot more, well, for the fans, they're more focused on their fan base, and anime fans are a little bit more diehard than other fans, movie wise at least. Of course, comics are a different story as far as DC and Marvel, but even other third party companies like Dark Horse and stuff like that. But anime movie wise, or film wise, I should say, because not just movies, but film wise, are pretty hardcore. We seek this out. We've sold it out. My Hero Academia was pretty much top dog throughout its initial run of. Originally, I believe they planned it for 7 days, but then they ended up pushing it to like 10 or 14 days at some places, and it was top dog at every single theater pretty much through that whole time. And I mean, like I said, every time I saw it, the first time was in a nice little, maybe 400 to 500 theater place. It's not, it's decent, and every seat sold out. Sold out weeks before. I bought my ticket a month before, as soon as they went on sale, and I got lucky. And then, of course, when I went to go see it again, I went to go see it at a giant AMC. They're not recliner seats. They're the classic, regular, cup holders fall down seats that just so happen to have numbers on them, and sold out. Every single seat in the biggest theaters that they had at that AMC, which was an AMC 30, which says something because typically they'll have 4 theaters that are huge, and it sold those out. And that wasn't just the only showings of the day. Like I said, I saw it back to back. But man, everybody cheered at the same time. Everything just was amazing. This one was My Hero Academia 2 Heroes was a fan appreciation because the fans made it great. And I think I talked a little bit too much about it. So let's go on to number 2, which, like I said, 1 and 2 were pretty close. I think some people might be surprised, but number 2 is Avengers Infinity War. I know. I'm a big Avengers fan. Pretty big overall. But as far as Marvel, of course, I am more Marvel heavy than DC. If you've seen my man cave, you would obviously notice, even though typically you see DC stuff back there, but I have a ton more, almost tenfold more Marvel stuff than DC overall. So I was really looking forward to this movie. Saw it opening night with some friends again. Sold out. Pretty much every time I saw this, I saw it 3 times in the first week. Sold out. Just like My Hero Academia 2 Heroes. Sold out every single time. And every single time it was awesome. It didn't lose anything from the first time. Well, okay. One thing, of course, it did lose a little luster on. But everything else was awesome and epic and just had all the same thing. It had a lot of fanfare as My Hero Academia, but of course, story-wise and everything overall, it's just more epic, more consequences, more impactful, more. That's the key to the sequels. It's bigger and better, and this was the biggest and bestest that there was. And I think the biggest thing about it was that it lived up to the hype and it surpassed that hype. And a lot of people complain about it because it's like, oh, guess what? You're going to scar your children now watching this movie because guess what? Spoilers. Granted, I don't know who hasn't seen it yet, but spoilers for Avengers Infinity War. Thanos does what he says, and he snaps, and he erases half of all living things, and it ends. Which, you'd think, yeah, superhero movies, of course, the superhero always wins, the bad guy always fails, there's always something that happens, there's always a ex machina thing that comes and helps them win. Not this time, guys. Granted, of course, there's a part 2, and they did try to change it and make it seem like this is the only standalone movie, but we all know there is a part 2, which is Avengers Endgame, coming out later this year in April, the best month, because it is my month, but we honestly don't know. I mean, of course, we want to believe that, yeah, it's going to turn back. Everything's going to be turned back the way it was. But really, I mean, is everything truly going to be, put back the way it was? It's not. I mean, nothing's going to be the same again. All those people that got dusted, I mean, I'm sure they're going to remember that. And it's going to affect them, and it's just changed everything from here on out, which is going to be interesting to see what they do for Phase 4, because I don't think they have anything really announced for Phase 4 yet. Yeah, besides Spider-Man Homecoming 2 at the end of this year. What else is there? because Guardians 3 is not on the books right now. So we gotta see what happens next, and we'll see come April what exactly happens next. But number one, have you watched any of my? Have you watched all my reviews this year? You kind of already know. It's Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Seen this movie. Granted, of course, I've only seen this movie 2 times, but I do want to see it again. Still, it's still in some theaters near me, and it's honestly, it's man, it's hard to say it because perfection is not something that is natural or created. There's always flaws in pretty much everything, but especially as far as movies go. But this is a perfect movie. I've had time to think about it. I've had time to rewatch it. I've had time to talk it over with other people and just see the impact that this movie has made on cinema and filmmaking and just people that have seen even one scene of it. And I mean, Avengers, yeah, was impactful as far as that cinematic universe, but this movie is impactful as far as cinema as a whole. And probably not since the MCU starting off, or even before then. It's like, when was the last time we had something? I mean, I think the most revolutionary thing in the last thing that was revolutionary in filmmaking was probably Avatar, the James Cameron Avatar. Just as far as the motion cap and the way that that was created and everything that they used, the technology and stuff. But yeah, man, this is like, computer animation technology helping improve and enhance movies. This is just like this is just, I mean, it's just incredible what this movie has done. Not just from its techniques, but from story writing, for introducing these characters that, I mean, if you read the comics, of course, the Spider-Verse storyline was pretty crazy, and you almost have to have had prior history of reading these comics and all these other Spider-Mans and stuff just to really kind of keep up with it. Because yeah, they do have basic information and introduction, but really that storyline was for the fans, and this movie introduces these characters, introduces them very well, which is almost a running theme, introducing with these comics and having the similarities of each other and just their own personal distinct, look and feel and stance and characteristics and behaviors, and just everything makes them unique, but also binds them together in a certain way. Even the music is just, man, the music is just perfectly chosen. I thought Black Panther at the beginning of the year was, I forgot to put Black Panther in my honorable mentions, but I thought Black Panther had amazing music, but this one just, every song was perfectly chosen, and every song complemented every scene it was in, and just enhanced everything beyond what you would think. And it's pretty, like I said, it's pretty impressive what they did. I mean, it's a computer animated movie, but it's only done with half the frames as a normal computer, another computer generated movie, which is ballsy to say the least, because typically you want smoothness in your CG, but man, they cut it in half. They used these, they even cut it less than that sometimes, in thirds or fourths, but half was the standard, and they even added these textures from the old 60s and 50s and 70s of these dotting colorization, the hard focuses, the color blurring or bleeding off the outlines of characters that aren't in focus, that don't need to be focused on, to just focusing on the main thing you need to focus on to the whole thing. It's got style, it's got flair, it's got characteristics all on its own. Besides the characters that are in the movie, the film as a whole is a character, and the story, it just around around Miles Morales, one of the first mixed raced Spider-Mans that has become so huge and big. He's black and Hispanic Spider-Man, which, yeah, we all love Peter Parker, but having someone like Miles definitely helps open up the Spider-Man persona, because yeah, anyone could be under that mask, but that's only half the story. um the person still has to take off their mask, and we gotta see how that person is. So it's nice seeing that someone to connect further with, besides just hiding underneath the mask. But his growth in this movie, just the blending of all the different stories and lines, and just the villains are easily introduced, and of course they're villains. I mean, we all kind of know them, and of course there are different spins on them. Just like the Dr. Octavius is a female, and this one, is she doesn't have metal arms. She has these like inflatable, high vinyl plastic arms that are really innovative. They're really actually pretty cool. They inflate and not just are mechanical. Well, even though, yeah, they're mechanical, but just the way that they're portrayed. I mean, she has them in this like tiny little backpack on her back, and they're completely hidden until she needs them, and then they just inflate out and expand. So it's just really cool to see like something like that, something very creative. And of course, we have our characters. Man, one thing I gotta say about that movie is that it's truly beautiful, colorful, just amazing to look at. I mean, like I said, Aquaman was amazing visually, but this is just amazing every way. And I think that's why Spider-Man is the Amazing Spider-Man, is because everything is just freaking amazing. But man, I totally got off track on that one. But yeah, this movie is great. It deserves number one. It's already won a Golden Globe for Best Animated Movie this year, which is pretty impressive. I mean, granted, okay, there's really only one other animated movie that the Oscars and Globes are gonna, really have in contention. That's of course Incredibles 2. There are some other movies that, yeah, deserve to be nominated, of course, but the way that the Oscars and Academy Awards, they always go after the biggest ones, which are often Disney or Pixar. And Spider-Man, man, Sony getting that Golden Globe for Best Animated Movie, and I really hope it wins the Oscar later on, because it deserves it. It deserves every single praise you can give it. Like I said, it's probably the perfect movie, and I think anyone can say that watching this. Try to find someone that hated it. Nobody hates it. Hardly anyone dislikes it, and there's something everyone likes in this movie. So that's saying something, really. But it deserves my number one spot. And of course, like I said, these are my choices. These are my opinions. This is just what I feel, and I believe Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is number one this year, because there was a lot. I think I made about 20 movie reviews, or 19, something like that. So quite a bit so far, but there was a lot more movies besides that were really good, but fortunately I can't see them all. But that's my top 5 with some honorable mentions. Granted, of course, those honorable mentions do make it a top 10, but I don't feel like ranking those honorable mentions. I think 5 is a good choice. So, tell me what you guys think. I hope this video wasn't too long for you guys, because I can see it is pretty long. But we will see. Maybe a review this week, but probably going to be not until next week, which next week Glass comes out. M. Night Shyamalan's 3rd movie in his cinematic universe. And it's almost like an Avengers movie because there are team-ups. But we will have to wait and see. I may do a movie review. Might go see the Upside. But like I said, lots of movies this year again. So till next time, guys. Later.